welcome to Behind the Bands, a show where we bring you a closer look at local musicians and artists performing in the 4 states.
We're your hosts, Sadie Heisner.
And I'm Yaneli Lopez. Today we're welcoming to the show David Loving, an independent singer-songwriter and producer based in Southeast Kansas.
We're excited to have him in the studio and hear songs that can tell stories. Let's kick things off with an original song called Sunshiny Day.
Raindrops falling down and the skies are turning gray. Everything I held on to starts to slip away. Chase away my frown and you smile at me that way. Bad weather comes and goes, but I've always got a sunshiny day. Oh, I don't see a cloud there in the sky. Sunshiny day, not a single shadow passing by. Sunshiny day, there's no one else to make me feel this way when I'm with you. Oh, it's always a sunshiny day. Say a storm front's coming, it's gonna be here any day. Barometric pressure, it don't matter anyway. Don't need no tornado warning, I'll take shelter with you any day when I'm with you. It's always a sunshiny day. Oh, I don't see a cloud there in the sky. Sunshiny day, not a single shadow passing by. Sunshiny day, no one else can make me feel this way when I'm with you. Oh, it's always a sunshiny day. My umbrella's in the car and my raincoat's packed away. The weatherman, he changed his mind and the storm was a mistake. I didn't need no false alarms, I got no time for rain delays when I'm with you. Oh, it's always a sunshiny day. Oh, I don't see a cloud there in the sky. Sunshiny day, not a single shadow passing by. Sunshiny day, there's no one else to make me feel this way when I'm with you. Oh, it's always a sunshiny day. Sunshiny day. Sunshiny day. Sunshiny day. Sunshiny day.
That was Sunshiny Day. And now we're here with David Loving. Thanks for joining us and welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Thank you for having me. My pleasure. Doing well.
All right, good.
So can you tell us a little bit when you started playing and why you started playing the guitar?
Started playing guitar about 30 years ago when I was in high school. And my father and his brother were both guitar players. And so at Thanksgiving and all the big family holidays, they would get guitars out and play through all of the folk songs they learned in college. And when I got to college, I started playing the dorms and kind of trading songs with other guys that I knew and kind of got into it that way, I guess.
That's awesome. Did you play any other instruments, or can you play any other instruments?
I played trumpet when I was in high school band, but then kind of abandoned that when I started playing guitar, and then I play a little bit of bass and a little bit of percussion, but not much.
So what motivated you to produce your own music?
I'm cheap is part of it. I didn't necessarily feel like I was at a place where I could justify booking a studio and booking studio time, but I'm also really interested in the technical aspects of it, and so learning to record my own stuff, seemed like a natural fit for me, and I got into it and realized that I really do enjoy the technical end of recording.
Yeah. Are most of your songs originals, or do you do covers as well?
Most of everything I played today was original, and most of the songs in my repertoire are originals. I do, when I'm playing out, sometimes work some covers in, and my most recent CD that I released did have a couple of cover songs on it, so I do occasionally record a cover song, but it's rare.
Okay.
So you talked about how sometimes your family and your friends would come together and play music. Have you ever thought about producing any songs with them?
I've thought about it, not so much with family, but with friends, and because some of the local musicians I know, and I've done a tiny bit of that, but not a whole lot. We haven't really had a lot of projects come together, but I'd be excited to do something like that.
How was that experience when you guys did get to try it?
It's a lot more challenging recording somebody else than it is recording me. is that, I can sit there and play around and do things 14 times over and over and over again until I get exactly what I want. Whereas when you're recording somebody else, you have to really be sure you have the same creative vision and be sure that you're on the same wavelength with one another, and that's not always easy to do.
Yeah, for sure.
So how would you describe your music style?
Folk singer-songwriter, Americana, I think any of those could fit. My influences are people like James Taylor and Gordon Lightfoot and Jackson Browne, with some modern performers, Gregory Alan Isakov and Taylor Goldsmith and some songwriters like that.
Okay.
So can you tell us the story behind the song we just heard, Sunshine Day?
Sunshiny Day is, there's not sort of a deep, profound thing behind that. It was mostly written to just be a fun song. But there is this thing I noticed. I grew up in Texas, and when I moved to the Midwest, I noticed that people in the Midwest love to talk about the weather. And I get it now that I live in the Midwest, I love to talk about the weather too, because the weather out here is for real. We get tornadoes and thunderstorms. You don't always get that stuff in other places. And so it's kind of a love song about talking about the weather, is how I thought of it. And so I tried to work in as many meteorological things into it as I could. I'm not sure how well I did. But
I get that. I remember you, in the song, you talk about a tornado. I was like, yeah.
Missouri. So the next song you're going to perform for us is Slow Dance. Can you tell us a little bit about what that song is?
Slow Dance is it's what I would call a life cycle song. It's like telling the story of this imaginary couple from meeting in high school and going to their first dance, all the way up through getting married, all the way up through dancing together in the hall, and then through old age. And I thought it was just a neat way to explore this couple kind of growing old together, and they're always dancing together, always waltzing together, and so that was kind of what inspired that, is just a desire to write a song telling a really long story.
It's kind of like that dream love kind of.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, a very fairy tale. In fact, the guy who designed the cover for the single that's out on the streaming services now almost did a kind of Disney look to it that I thought was really neat.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, and so I thought it fit thematically very well with the song. So.
Well, that's awesome. Here's David Loving with Slow Dance.
Your dress, it was brand new, silky and bright blue, and matching the shade of your hide. My first dance elation and slow hesitation was better with your hand in mine. We danced in the school gym, and sometime that evening the awkwardness all slipped away. At the end of the evening, you leaned closer to me, and one last song started to play. It's a slow dance, waltz with me Put your head on my shoulder and sway to the music. I know it's the very first time, and I'm wishing this moment could go on forever. So dance me a slow dance tonight. Your dress was a vision of splendid perfection, so beautiful, lovely and white. The church hall was crowded and decked out with flowers and lit up by soft candlelight. We smiled for the camera, we laughed with the family, we cheered when you tossed the bouquet. The reception was ending, our new life beginning, and one last song started to play. It's a slow dance, waltz with me, darling, you're looking so lovely tonight. I'm stumbling and my movements are clumsy, but there's something I see in your eyes. Put your head on my shoulder and sway to the music. I'm having the very best time, and I'm wishing this moment could go on forever. So dance me a slow dance tonight. We dance through the years in the hall or the kitchen, little pieces of time going by. All the hopes and the fears and the big life decisions were better with you by my side. And I know my old feet, they don't move like they used to, but I'm willing to give it a try. 'Cause I'm feeling the beat of a song I remember. So dance with me, won't you tonight? One more slow dance, waltz with me, darling, you're looking so lovely tonight. I'm stumbling and my movements are clumsy, but there's something I see in your eyes. Put your head on my shoulder and sway to the music. This might be the very last time, 'cause I'm wishing this moment could go on forever. So dance me slow dance goodnight. Good night.
We're back with David Loving, and we'd like to talk about your songwriting process. So what does the process for writing a song look like?
It's different every time, but for me, usually it starts with a little snippet of something, a few lyrics with a bit of a melody attached to them. Whether it's the chorus of Sunshiny Day or it's a slow dance, waltz with me, darling, or whatever. Some little snippet of something pops into my head. Mm-hmm. And then I usually start asking myself, okay, if this is the chorus, what do we have to say in the verse to get to that chorus? What does the rest of the song look like if this is the chorus? So that's how I approach it. And I know there's some people who can just dash them off quickly. I don't. I'll write it, or I'll write a verse, and then I'll come back a couple of weeks later and revise it and write another one. And honestly, a song is never really finished for me until I've played it live at least a handful of times, because it always starts to change a little bit when I play it live. I was going to ask,
do you ever change, like you start with one whole set of lyrics and then you're like, you know what, actually
all the time. And it's funny, because when I record, I go back and the lyrics are on Spotify and all the streaming services and all of that. And I'll look at what I actually wrote down, and then I'll look at what I sang. Like, these aren't the same. and I usually don't even realize how much it's changed in the process.
I mean, that's kind of good if you can't
Yeah.
tell. I mean,
Yeah, and I bet that's another like positive of being like just your own.
you have the freedom.
Yeah,
of
you-
Yes,
freedom to do that.
as I have the freedom, I'm not working with a whole creative team and production team.
So does your music follow a certain theme, or what do you do to figure out the different stories?
I don't think my music as a whole necessarily follows a theme, although I will a lot of times write a bunch of songs around the same time dealing with similar themes. And I did that in particular on my second album, it was called Milltown Requiem. Was a lot of songs about growing up in a small town. And my third album, Travelers, I realized after I looked back at a lot of the stuff I'd written that it was all about people going on journeys and coming home and everything that goes with that. So I find that I'll write on a theme for a while, and it tends to kind of naturally consolidate itself into an album.
It's a little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything, yeah.
So we know, of course, that you produce your own music. So do you have your own studio, or do you rent?
Yes, I have my own studio in a bedroom in our house, basically. It doubles as my office / studio space. So I've got some soundproofing, and I've got, I can record instruments and vocals and all of that, and do the mixing in the computer.
So you told us about the album that you just talked about. Can you tell us a little bit about that album some more? And then do you plan on releasing any more albums in the future?
The most recent album I released came out, it's about 2 years ago now. It's called Travelers. And it's probably my favorite of the ones that I've released so far. I felt like it came together better production-wise than anything I've recorded so far. And that's, you'll hear at least one song off of that one later on today. And then the next one coming out, hopefully will be out later this year. Both Sunshiny Day and Slow Dance will be on that one. Those are already out as singles, but the CD and the album will be out sometimes this summer, maybe, I don't know. I've got probably 2 or 3 more songs that need to be finished up and recording.
Okay. And so where do you like to perform locally, though?
Locally for me is Southeast Kansas, so there are a couple of good venues. Pickled Pete's in Frontenac has gotten to be one of the big local hubs for singer-songwriters and for live music. And let's see, if we go south of Joplin, Track 94 down in Seneca has been really good to me. It's a small brew pub there in Seneca that I've always had really good shows at. And if we go a little farther afield, Gotta Hold Brewing in Eureka Springs is always one of my favorite venues to go to, because they tend to book mostly artists who do original music, so their crowd is kind of expecting that, and it's
Something new.
Yeah, and so it's a good venue for me.
So do you prefer live performances, or do you like playing just in a studio?
Completely different experiences. I love performing live. It's fun to connect with an audience. But I also find that when I'm recording in a studio, there's no room for error. You have to really learn your songs. So there's a lot of songs that I said a lot of times the lyrics aren't finished till I've performed them live, but a lot of times the guitar part isn't really finished until I've recorded it, because playing it over and over in the studio, and you have to play it the same way every time.
So you kind of rely on both.
And so I like both. I wouldn't want to do just one all the time.
That makes sense.
Let's take a listen to the next song called Breakaway.
She spent a lifetime in this one-horse town, slowly dying since the mill shut down. There's something out there past a city limit sign, mysteries concealed just beyond the county line. Beat-up cardboard box contains the sum of 18 years. The screen door's final slam leaves its ringing in her ears. She climbs behind the wheel of that old car in the drive. It stutters, groans, and mumbles as the engine roars to life. Break away, oh, spread your wings and fly. Break away and leave this town behind. Find your place, and I know you'll do just fine. But it's time to break away. Break away and start a brand new life. Tires on the asphalt sing their melancholy song. She crosses the horizon and she knows she's really gone. Inside she knows she's not the first to face the world out there. So many didn't make it, they all ended up back here. Break away, oh, spread your wings and fly. Break away and leave this town behind. Find your place, and I know you'll do just fine. But it's time to break away. To break away and start a brand new life. And I know your feelings are a mix of love and hate, all the tangled up emotions that you can't quite separate. In time the sharp wounds soften down into a faded scar. Places that we come from, they help to make us who we are. Break away, oh, spread your wings and fly. Break away and leave this town behind. Find your place, and I know you'll do just fine. But it's time to break away. Break away. Break away and start a brand new life.
And that was Breakaway. So what's the story behind that song?
I mentioned that I did an album called Milltown Requiem several years ago that was about growing up in a small town, and this is one that's off that album. And I grew up in a small town in South Texas that had about 600 people in the town. And this particular song is for everybody like me that grew up in a small town and eventually had to leave.
Yeah.
And it's about that kind of fear of leaving home for the first time and wondering what's going to happen once you cross the city limit sign.
So what is your proudest achievement as a musician so far?
Oh, that's a hard one. Slow dance has been particularly good to me. I entered it in a songwriting competition, the New Song Contest, which is associated with the Winfield Bluegrass Festival in Kansas. And I actually won my category in that. That was a year and a half ago, I guess, that I did that. And so that was a pleasant surprise to me because I kind of entered the contest on a whim. And
it turned out good.
And it turned out
awesome.
very, very well for
Congrats
me. So
on
I
that.
was I was that's one I'm particularly proud of.
Awesome. So where can our audience go to listen for more of your music? Where can they find about future events?
You can find my music on any of the streaming services, so it's on Spotify and Apple and Amazon. You can find me on YouTube, both in YouTube Music, and I have my own YouTube channel where there are some live performances, kind of similar to what
Is it
you
just
guys are hearing
under
today. Look under David Loving Music for those, and then that's actually a lead into the website, which is www.davidlovingmusic.com. And that's got links to some of the videos. That's got my performance calendar, because I do have a pretty full slate of live performances coming up here in the next couple of months. So
Awesome. That's exciting.
So as we wrap up, we do have one more song. I believe it's called "A Train That Never Came." Can you tell us a little bit about that song?
This song wrote itself about as quickly as anything I've ever written. I had the bulk of it in 1 or 2 sittings, and it was, even to this day, I'm not entirely sure what I was saying in it. It's one of those that was a little bit of a stream of consciousness, which is not a way I normally write a lot of, but it just kind of came out. And the thing that you'll hear in all 3 verses of it is there's a reference to restless spirits. And I had this just image of walking through a deserted train station in the middle of the night and kind of seeing the newspaper blowing around in front of you and wondering what spirits there are there. And I think they're benevolent spirits that are there. But I think that was sort of what inspired the song. And it has been consistently the most popular song that I've written, at least in terms of things like streaming numbers. So it's one I tend to play all the shows because it does seem to get a good reception. Maybe because I didn't get too specific with it, and you can see a lot of things in it.
All right.
It's been really good getting to know you.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. So that wraps up the episode of Behind the Bands. I'm your host, Yaneli Lopez.
And I'm Sadie Heisner. If you would like to be on our show, contact us on the KGCS Facebook page, facebook.com/KGCSTV.
And we're going to leave you with one more song by David Loving. Here's A Train That Never Came.
Platform's empty, it's 3 a.m. Just me and these ghosts that rumble around. Restless spirits in the empty space, never knowing where they're bound. Never knew what I was waiting for, till I watched it slip away. Spent half a lifetime waiting here, waiting on a train that never came. Now I'm feeling lost without you here. I feel your presence in the wind. Restless spirits in the in-between, searching for what might have been. Never knew what I was waiting for, till I watched it slip away. Spent half my lifetime waiting here, waiting on a train that never came. If I could buy a ticket out of here, if I could catch the last train home, restless spirits that guided my way to help me find a better road. Never knew what I was waiting for, till I watched it slip away. Spent half a lifetime waiting here,